A warm welcome back to your latest industry analysis here on Globetrotting. Subscribe if you haven't already. Lufthansa parked its Airbus A340, intending to retire the aircraft at the beginning of 2020. However, while demand was lacking, the planned retirement did not eventuate, despite the planes being grounded. So what's the story behind the Lufthansa A340 parking? What is next for the series? And why on earth is the series still active in the fleet? Well, see, when 2020 arrived, the COVID pandemic forced airlines into rethinking their operations and reacting to government restrictions which had been implemented, and also went on to then impact the ability of airlines to fly daily as usual. While international travel demand dropped to record lows like we had not seen before, affecting airlines' long-haul flying, it was always going to be types such as the A340 and other quad-engined aircraft that were going to be impacted the most. And yes, that either relates to the permanent retirement or temporary parking. These aircraft, while coming equipped with a strong level of capacity, in the end, this was their undoing, alongside them showing signs of age. And when the 2020s had arrived, a lot of these planes were already penciled in for their retirement, and the transition for these companies towards newer jets was certainly unfolding. So, when restrictions hit, it gave these airlines a bit of an opportunity to rid themselves of the less efficient planes, and that is precisely what the German flag carrier Lufthansa attempted to do, parking the A340s with not necessarily the intention, in an ideal world, to have them to return back to service for the medium to long term. Ultimately, it wasn't just aircraft like the 340. Unfortunately for us aviation enthusiasts, and maybe if you weren't around during this period, but now certainly understand the impact of key aircraft, it was planes like the A380 and 747. We were pretty much losing all our beloved aircraft in the space of a month. And I know, trust me, there was far worse going on in the world, but just from an aviation standpoint, and us as aviation enthusiasts, it was a pretty tough period to follow, one after the other, airlines grounding planes and looking to ship them off. And due to the restrictions, a lot of enthusiasts didn't have the opportunity to say farewell to a plane that had been in the skies for 25 to 30 years. All of this was to take place, allowing for the addition of newer jets like the A350 and the 787. Ultimately, the A340 would return after a period on the ground, and still it wasn't for Lufthansa not trying to retire the jet permanently. Much of the return was driven by a failed fleet renewal. Lufthansa has had always a very much complex fleet. Doesn't mean though it doesn't want to change it. So many aircraft types occupying the business was once favourable, but now it's not. As newer, efficient types have emerged, more companies want to reduce the number of aircraft types they have, but maybe increase their fleet. These newer planes, such as the aforementioned 350 and 787, offer not just greater efficiency, but also the flexibility to be featured across several markets, while also having the chance to be switched out where required. This is something older planes lack. Lufthansa has committed heavily, as you would expect, to the next generation of aircraft, which will not just aid replacement efforts of types such as the A340, which is the focus today, but enable future growth. But by no means has it been an easy process, as the German company has been thrown several curveballs. While the pandemic caused demand to drop, it wasn't the only thing that was then affected. For aircraft manufacturers, supply chains were absolutely decimated, forcing them to plan lengthy periods without timely deliveries to their customers. Over the last half-decade, new aircraft deliveries from Airbus and Boeing have consistently been delayed, with yes, this extending between a month, even over a year. You can see there is a bit of a discrepancy in time between this, but it is the effect we're seeing. It means planes like the A340, which should have been retired absolutely, have not been. Instead, in this case, Lufthansa has been forced to maintain capacity, despite the adverse effects that are then put on its financial position. It needs to mitigate the loss in capacity. It simply can't rid itself of all of these super jumbo-like aircraft, and that centers around the 340, 380, and 747, which have all seen their life extended for operators especially who have struggled to replace these types with new gen planes. It's not for the lack of trying, but with a lot of internal frustrations. Lufthansa has on several occasions even expressed its own deep concerns with plane makers and their ability to be transparent about the delays encountered on new planes, and the transparency to be able to tell Lufthansa when the delays are going to conclude. The thing is though, you'd probably make the argument that even on Airbus's part, it's very challenging to keep up with all of this, to then let alone tell its customers. It leads to airlines like Lufthansa pushing for compensation. Retaining older planes, while beloved by operators, comes with its downsides, including higher operating costs and a deep focus on maintenance as jets continue to age. So while the A340 returned after a lengthy period on the sidelines, the flag carrier still expects to retire the jet sooner rather than later, as more planes are delivered and take on a key role. The retirement process has been subject to delays even after the pandemic. This was evidenced by an announcement in May that they would retire their A340-600 fleet by early 2026. Believe it or not, and shock horror here, this was also a delay in the overall retirement process, the carrier stating that because of an inability to acquire the 787s on time, it needed to keep these planes on longer. And although the Dreamliner offers less capacity, it is envisaged as a replacement that brings greater efficiency and flexibility. As manufacturers look to rebuild their supply chains and work through backlogs, there is at least some renewed optimism in the last few months that fleet renewal can continue to take shape for airlines, includes Lufthansa. In the coming years, therefore, the reliance on the A340 should no longer be, and that's hard from an aviation enthusiast standpoint to say, but Lufthansa will be happy. They're moving away from these quad-engine types that are not deemed necessary and towards planes with greater flexibility, greater efficiency, and just a fantastic upgrade. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you very much for tuning in. I do appreciate your support. Please take care, do be safe, and I'll see you in a couple of days for more industry analysis.
And we'll fly.